What if you were immortal? Only you in the entire world. How do you think your life would be? Would you explore every corner of the planet? Accumulate infinite wealth? Or, over time, would immortality become an unbearable burden? Say, would you want to be immortal? Now, imagine the story of John, an ordinary man, until the day he realized he would never die. The year was 2025, and John was always a regular person, a normal job, a normal life, until the day he suffered a brutal car accident. Everything pointed to his end, but something inexplicable happened. While the paramedics tried to understand how he was still conscious, his wounds started closing before their eyes. Within hours, he was completely healed. The doctors were baffled. The media tried to investigate, but John decided to disappear. Something was different. Something was wrong. At first, he tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just an anomaly, a medical miracle. But as weeks turned into months, he started noticing subtle changes. He never got sick. His hair never grayed. His body never felt tired. Years passed, and while those around him started showing signs of aging, he remained exactly the same. By 2050, it became impossible to hide. His friends, now in their 50s and 60s, marveled at how youthful he still looked. Some joked about his perfect genetics, but others began to suspect something unnatural. Rumors spread. A government agency became interested in his case, and John had to make a choice: stay and risk being studied like an experiment, or disappear. John had learned how to erase himself. New identities, new passports, fake birth certificates. Every few decades, he moved to a different country, changed his name, and started over. But the world was changing fast, and immortality didn't mean he was immune to its dangers. By 2060, the world was a different place. Climate disasters had intensified. Coastal cities were sinking. Megacorporations had more power than governments. Artificial intelligence had replaced most human jobs, and social unrest was everywhere. Wars weren't fought with soldiers anymore. They were fought with drones, cyber attacks, and biological weapons. John witnessed it all. He had seen the slow decline of democracy, the rise of surveillance states, and the growing gap between the rich and the poor. He watched as nations fell and new ones rose in their place. He learned how to survive in the shadows, using his wealth and knowledge to stay invisible. But there was one thing he couldn't escape: love. Despite his efforts to remain detached, John fell in love. Sophia was a scientist, brilliant and curious, who met him at a research conference in New York. She was fascinated by his mind, his experiences, and his seemingly endless wisdom. For the first time in decades, John allowed himself to believe in happiness again. He married Sophia, built a life with her, and even watched as humanity made its greatest leap: the colonization of Mars. By 2100, technology had advanced at an unprecedented rate. AI had become sentient. Space travel was common, and genetic engineering allowed humans to extend their lifespan significantly. But no one, not even the most advanced scientists, could understand John's immortality. And then reality set in. Sophia aged. John didn't. She tried to accept it. But as the years passed, the truth became unbearable. She watched as her own reflection changed, while John remained frozen in time. Their love, once so powerful, turned into sorrow. On her deathbed, Sophia held his hand and whispered, "You will outlive everyone, John. You will watch as the world forgets me, but promise me you won't forget." She passed away in 2125, leaving John with a heart that could never heal. That was the moment he realized immortality was not a gift. It was a curse. John had seen the world change in ways he never imagined. Flying cars were now real. Artificial intelligence ruled the planet, and humanity had begun colonizing Mars. But none of it mattered. What hurt most was watching everyone he loved disappear. He tried everything to numb the pain. He traveled across planets, seeking answers. He indulged in every pleasure possible, hoping to feel something real. He searched desperately for a cure to his condition, consulting the greatest minds of the era. But nothing worked. He was alone, forever. And so, he made a decision. He would stop living. Year 2500 a voluntary exile. By now, humanity was no longer confined to Earth. Colonies thrived across the solar system, and quantum computing had allowed minds to exist in digital form. Time was no longer measured in years, but in cosmic events. And John, he had vanished. He retreated to the farthest place he could find, an abandoned space station orbiting a dead star. There, far from everything and everyone, he tried to disconnect from the world. He let centuries pass in silence, existing in solitude, hoping time would finally forget him. But even in the deepest darkness of the universe, time never stopped. And then one day, he had a realization. He had spent millennia running from life, running from pain. But what if, instead of hiding, he left something behind? By the year 5000, John returned to Earth, or at least what was left of it. Humanity had evolved beyond recognition. Physical bodies were obsolete. People now existed as digital consciousness, free to travel between planets at the speed of light. Empires had risen and fallen, and Earth itself was a relic of the past. But there was one thing that never changed: the need for knowledge, the need for stories. John spent centuries documenting everything he had seen, every civilization, every war, every lesson. He became a teacher, a guardian of history. His writings and teachings were spread across the cosmos, shaping generations of beings he would never meet. And finally, after 5,000 years, he understood something. Perhaps he would never die, but he had found a way to be remembered.